see freaking Aston. You're gonna see
You
who else?
motherfucker, bro! You were supposed to let me up
What's the
before he
popular
leaves, bro.
anti-Apollo cult? Sorry, give me 1 second. Still talking. Official. What's the popular
Bro, I don't care.
anti-Apollo
You're
cult
fake
again?
Jamaican. We don't claim
I'm
that.
not saying that you care or not, and I don't care if you don't care.
Well,
I'm the
if I
one
don't
who's
care, I'm gonna keep
basically
talking.
handling this
You
right
said
now.
what's the what?
So yeah, I don't know why you're spazzing out this early in the
Bro, official.
conversation. We're
You
not
were
even
supposed
having a
to,
debate, dude.
bro. You're
Calm
supposed to let
down,
me up
dude.
here so
Wait,
I could
I think I
We're
think
having a
set up
panic
something before
attack,
you left.
bro.
wait,
We're having a
I
panic
don't know who
attack,
keeps
bro.
DCing him,
It's
but I
not
think
that
I'm
deep.
invalid. What's going on?
Yeah, but official, I was just basically saying, what's the popular freaking anti-Apollo calls again? Forgot it. You have freaking, you asked them is one of them.
Oh, people
Oh,
who
bro,
don't like
Jin
me.
is enjoying that shit too. But wait, just
Oh
give
damn.
before we continue this conversation. Clorox is like, he's having a boner to debate me type shit. So like, let's get this thing rolling. I was like,
I
let's just
really
do
didn't
this.
want to debate you. Like, I already put you in a
Then
pack
why
like
were you
3
trying to
times.
speed up the conversation? I was chilling, bro. You have never been, by the way, just to be clear. You're trash. Dog piss.
It
Horse
Wait, so
is.
piss.
what
It will
topic
be
Worst
do
of
the
the
you guys
fourth
worst.
do?
anniversary
Worst
of
of
belt
human
to
What are
ass
y'all
filth.
for
willing
me
to
to
You can
debate
never
on?
beat
Apollo.
me, bro.
If you're
I'm being
trying,
dead serious.
I
I'm
guess
being
it's
dead
shit
serious.
talk time.
Apollo, you
There's a
can't
higher
even get past my
probability of
students. What are
leprechaun's
you talking about?
existence than freaking Clorox beating me in a Discord
There's a
debate,
higher probability
unironically.
of you
But moving
stopping
on,
of
though.
being a virgin,
We
like
can
the
have the
beating me.
debate, though. We can have a conversation, pick a topic. Let's see what's going to happen. Pick a
Oh my
topic.
god, Apollo, Apollo, you know what is about to ask
I don't know why you're
Apollo.
moaning over my name,
Apollo,
bro.
you know
Just
what is
pick a
about to ask
topic.
Apollo. Apollo, do you know
Pick a
Friday? Like
topic.
I could, bro. I was shackling your knees, bro. Let me talk to official
I
first.
don't
Yo,
know why
official.
you're shaking,
I
dude.
What
Just
wanted to
up?
pick a
What
be
up?
topic. You came up
the
here. I
reason
was
why
chilling,
I
bro.
wanted to get
I was
up here
chilling.
so bad,
You were like,
Apollo.
"Oh, I
I'm
I
don't
not.
know
care
it was
about what
because
you're
the
talking
tin
about."
thing. It was
Pick a
Yeah,
no, it was
topic,
bro.
because
bro.
of the
I,
You're
tin
I know.
so
thing.
I,
But
I
desperate to
know.
debate me. Pick a
I know
topic.
he
he
was
was
gonna
in a mood
leave.
today,
I know. I just want to
and
run
yeah,
away every single time I press you to pick a
I
topic.
didn't want to
Pick
Official.
a
like
I
topic,
know.
man.
Official.
aggravate
Pick a
him.
topic, man.
I
Pick
know,
a
right?
topic.
But I know he
No
was gonna
problem.
leave. But
Okay,
the thing is, I
official.
was
This guy's
gonna try to
wasting
get
our
up
time.
here
Let's
and
pick
set up
another
something for
opponent,
like a
please.
later
He
date
doesn't want to
before
debate. He came up here trying to
left.
like press me or
And then you
something.
let me up like
I'm asking
directly
him to
after he
present the
leaves,
debate
and I was
topic,
like,
and
bro,
now
No,
he's
what's
it
running
wrong
away
with
from
you?
the
no, it was because
conversation.
he dead
We can
serious.
just
He was
move the guy
literally
down
trying to
and pick
DM him.
someone
He
else.
was
Let's
like,
get
"No,
this
I'm
thing
not debating
rolling.
else." So I'm like, "Oh well, shit."
Yeah, official. I can just take over from the synth gauntlet or whatever you
Okay,
want to
yeah.
say. I'll just run the gauntlet. But this guy, official, not official. Sorry, Clorox is a waste of time. A waste of time, space, and sperm cells. God damn it. So who else wanted to debate? Oh, OP Dengue. How long is it gonna take? It's over 2 days. And your weird faggot ass is like, oh, I'm gonna take a screenshot
Whoa,
of her
whoa,
DMs to get some subs.
whoa.
What's going on,
No,
dude?
you
Hey, wait, hold on, hold on,
didn't,
hold on.
bro.
Whoa, whoa,
What's going on, dude?
who is this? Who is this? Hold
Okay,
on.
why do you
Whoa,
think it was
whoa.
cool to take a screenshot of me
I
pinging you
did,
for
bro.
20 times for the recording? Of course, we're
Who
gonna
the fuck?
spam ping the fuck
Whoa,
out of you,
whoa. What
dude.
the fuck
You're
is going on?
gatekeeping the recording. They'll be bullying the fuck out of Zizo and Infinity
Did somebody
1v2.
invite Clorox back up? Did I invite him back up? Did it? Okay, there we go. Whoa, whoa. Because Clorox, what
Bro, these
topic are you
guys are
guys gonna
Bro,
gatekeeping
debate?
who the
recording.
hell killed? Who
I
the hell
don't
I
know,
kicked
bro. A
did.
me?
lot of shit
I
was
just
going
sent a
on, bro. I
ticket.
was
What
trying to
about
call
it?
my
What
All you
about
took
it,
shot.
a
Clorox?
screenshot. Wait,
Oh my
hold on.
Who
god.
are
Wait,
you,
hold on.
bro? What's
Literally,
wrong with you?
King,
I'm
You
this
don't
more
guy
even
back
known
know
up,
than
me.
you,
bro.
kid. I'm more known
Bring
than
this guy
you.
back up, bro.
Y'all better
I
get
literally
Before I
don't
do,
know
No one
before I
shit.
knows
do,
you,
before I
kid.
do,
y'all
No
better
before
one
get the
knows
I don't
you.
know.
Understand you're
Let's
coming
get
up
this
to me
rolling. Let's
saying
get
that
this
nobody
rolling.
knows you, like
Let's
I
get this
don't know
rolling,
you,
moderate
and
man.
I was
right
randomly
now.
Just
kicked.
shut up for a second, dude. Stop talking for a second. OP Dengue, you're talking about how it is the case you've never taken a screenshot. Dog, it's a fucking DM screenshot. What the fuck are you talking about?
Okay, I'm
Someone
gonna
hack
unmute
your account
Clorox.
to the
He
screenshot.
wants to. He wants to debate
Is this
you.
just what's gonna happen all the time?
No, it's not. I'm finna get some
Clorox,
real moderation here. Okay, I'm gonna have to do it myself. Okay, since the mods
Yeah,
aren't fucking modding, I didn't know my mods were pussy. Okay, so
yeah.
Clorox, what topic do you want to do with Apollo?
I really don't like debating pedophiles, but I guess we can do
Oh,
like child marriage in Islam. Like we can run that.
okay. He wants to talk about child marriage in
That hits a
Islam.
little close to
Apollo,
home, doesn't it, Apollo?
just
do
to be
you want
clear
to
on this,
talk
hold
about
on.
child marriage in Islam?
Official,
I'm gonna
official,
mute him
official,
so you can
official,
talk.
official,
Okay, what's
official. Let
up?
me ask the clarifying questions, please. Give me
Yeah,
1 second.
go ahead.
Clorox, you believe it to be the case that Aisha marriage is immoral, correct?
Okay, go ahead. I'm finna have to moderate it myself since the mods are pussy. Okay, go ahead.
I
Yeah,
knew
that's
him to
fine, but I'm
repeat
asking
that
Clorox
question
the question now.
anyway.
I'm asking Clorox, yes or no, do you stand by the position that the Aisha marriage in Islam is immoral?
Yeah, I think raping kids is wrong.
Okay, cool. So you think it is immoral. So just to be clear in this, right? Is it the case, or rather, what do you think determines the ethicality of a marriage or a specific relationship? Is it mental maturity, physical maturity, sorry, a conjunct of both? or additional qualifiers? Like, what's the specific criteria for the ethicality of marriages and sexual relationships? What's your position, man? Tell us.
Well, I'm high as fuck, and I thought that I would be the slow one, you know. But let me catch you up. When I said that I think raping kids is wrong, obviously I'm referring to the fact that consensualness is going to determine the morality of the subject. So if you're able to consent or not. So mental maturity,
Yeah,
yes,
so
would
there's
be
a
a
whole bunch of
very
these words and like vague
important
language
issue.
used there, you know. So like you say it is the case that raping someone is immoral, and this is the dishonest stuff pulling off here. Of course, raping is immoral. No one
Dishonest.
disagrees on that. Now he's going to speak over me because he realizes that he's going to basically get his dishonest language unpacked in front of everyone here. Rape is
Oh,
immoral.
snap.
Everyone agrees on that. However, stop talking for a second. When you're going to be talking about legality, that's not going to work
He's
there,
gonna
you dumbass.
fuck
Because
me,
when you're
yeah,
saying that it is the case that rape is immoral, we're defining rape in virtue of legal consent, dude. And if that's to be the case, then back then it would not be rape because guess what? Back then, child marriage was legal, you dumb fucking loser. So given your own definition of rape, it would not be fucking rape, dumbass. So guess what? You'd have to give a different argument, of course, as to why that would be rape if you're making the claim that the Aisha marriage or relationship was rape.
Oh shit, bro. This is my favorite thing about Apollo. He never ceases to shadow box. Never did I talk about the legality of child marriage. Where the fuck did that come from?
Why would you bring
I'll
up
continue
rape
the
if you're not
discussion with
talking
you.
about the legality of child marriage? Why would you bring up rape if you're not
Because
talking about the legality of child marriage?
because rape has a
How the fuck is that
definition
even
outside
relevant?
of
Of course, you're trying to make
legality.
the argument that the Aisha marriage is freaking rape.
Do you think
dumbass.
that do you
That's the
think
whole
that
point you
rape
bringing it up.
like didn't exist
Why would
before
you bring
the
up
legal
rape if you're
system?
not trying to criticize the
Do you
Aisha
think rape
relationship?
did exist before legal
Answer the
systems? Yes or
question.
no?
Why would you bring
Just
it up?
answer the question. I
Why
asked
would
the
you bring it
question
up?
first. Do you
Why would
think
you bring it
rape
up?
didn't exist
Why would you
before
bring up rape in the
legal
context of
systems?
a lack of legal consent, considering the age of the person, if
Why
you're
can't
not
you
trying to
answer this
say that
question?
the Aisha relationship was rape?
Why can't you answer this question? Do you think yes or no
I'm
that
going to
rape
answer your question
existed
when you answer my
before
question.
legal
Answer my
systems?
question. Why would you
I
bring up
asked
that specific
first.
point if it is
What are you
not with
talking about?
respect to the context of you trying to say the Aisha relationship was rape?
Apollo, I already pointed out that you
Answer the
shadow
question.
box, so I'm trying to
Answer
find
the
out what your
question.
position is
Yes or
by
no? Where are
asking
you
you a
making the
question.
claim? Yes or no? Where are you making the
So,
claim
do
that
you
the
think
Aisha
that rape
relationship was rape?
existed
Yes or no?
before
Yes or
legal
no? I
systems?
don't care
Yes
for
or
your TED
no?
talk. I care for a yes or no to my question.
That's not
Yes
a
or
TED
no?
talk. That's a
Were you
simple
trying to make
question.
the claim? Were you trying to make
Okay.
the claim? Yes or no?
What claim?
Just
What are you
answer
talking
yes or
about? You
no.
still haven't answered my question.
So are you stupid?
Okay,
You're
okay,
so
okay.
lost to the point
To
where you
get
can't
somewhere, you
even
guys
track
are
the
going in
fucking
a
question?
circle,
My
back
question
and
is me
forth, back
asking
and
you,
forth.
were you trying to make the claim? Yes or no? I don't want 200 syllables or 200 words.
Answer
Just
his
a yes or
question,
Claim?
no. Were you
then
trying to
Apollo
make
will
the
answer yours.
claim that the Aisha relationship was rape?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so
Now
that means
answer
it
my
was the
question.
case
Wait,
that my point is
Apollo,
relevant to
answer
you,
his
dumbass. So what I told you, so what I
answer my
told you,
question.
what,
Apollo,
Now will you
answer his
answer?
question.
Yeah, Apollo.
That's fair.
Now
That's fair.
you see,
And then it's
official
gonna
won't
go back
allow
to
you
you.
to shadow box because I tried to be fair with you, even though I asked the question first. I answer your question, I answer mine. Do you or do you not believe that rape existed before legal systems? Yes or no?
Okay. Now Apollo can get into it.
that was legally consensual, so therefore it would not be rape. So how would it be the case that that was shadowboxing if I'm directly attacking the premise which determines whether or not it will be rape, you dumbass?
You're still shadowboxing because you're
Saying
not
that someone is
understanding what my
shadowboxing is not
point
an
is coming
argument.
from.
That's not
You're
an
saying my
argument, dude.
point
Give
is
an
sourced in
argument.
legality just because I said Muhammad raped Aisha.
Are you
I had said
retarded, dude?
nothing
Are you
up
under
to
the
that
false
point
impression that saying
about
that someone
legal
is
systems.
shadowboxing is
So
going to be
can you please
dominance
answer
here?
the question that's going to get you back on track?
Answer which
Do
question,
you
dog?
or
You've
do
already
you not think
stated
that
that was
rape
not
existed
shadowboxing.
before
What
legal
question did you
systems,
even
Apollo?
answer?
Yes or no?
What question did to even answer? You've already agreed
Oh,
that was not
look at the
shadowboxing,
little
dude.
low tier running
How would it
away
be the
from the
case that was
question.
shadowboxing, bro? Tell me.
Now you're asking another question. You still have. You see how you
Yeah, I'm
still didn't
asking these
answer my
other
question?
questions. My turn to ask questions. You answer
Yes
the
or
question.
no? Did
Answer
rape
the
exist
question.
before legal
Why are
systems?
you running away, dude?
You see how he still hasn't answered the question? I
You
asked
see
this
how you
question
haven't
the
answered
first time
my
before
question?
his two questions. I answered a
You
question
make a
after
claim
that,
of
and I was like,
shadowboxing. You
okay,
should deal
it's
with the
fair that you
subject
should answer
because you
my
know
question now,
that's
Jamaican
not
pedophile.
the move
Or
over the
fake
dumb claim
Jamaican. We
made
won't even claim
because
your
you can't
ass. We
defend
have
it.
with the Batim on Apollo them. Now answer the question them,
Floor
y'all
is
know?
crashing out after he realizes he has
Shout
no
for a real bit.
justification
Shout for a
for his
real bit. You feel not real,
participation in
rude
the
boy. You're not from
conversation.
yard.
Isn't that
You're not from yard.
so crazy?
Apollo
Isn't
not
that
from yard.
so crazy?
Anyways, can
Anyways,
you answer
to
the
be clear in this
question?
Clorox,
Y'all think
to be clear in
Apollo
this, we acknowledge
is the claim,
acknowledge that
Apollo?
it would not be a shadow
As
boxing.
as
Yes or
Yafi
no?
claim, Apollo. Did
Stop.
rape exist
You
before our
clearly
legal
will
systems?
Isn't
Yes or no?
acknowledge
disagreeing with
that
what
that
he's
would
saying
not
being
be a
a
shadow
Did
shadow
rape
boxing.
box?
exist before
You
our legal
acknowledge
Take
systems?
that
Yes
that
or
would
no?
progressing the
You
combo.
see, he feel be a
you
Or
shadow
acknowledge
to
that
boxer.
just contend with his idea that I guess his contention that he gave uh would progress the combo. So just contend with what he's talking about. Just
Thank
give
you.
just give a repeat and give a repeat Apollo, then Clorox. Yeah, go.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
you're
so to
asking me
be
to do
clear on
something?
this, what I can do here is we can just like,
You
of
saying
course,
he's
take
not
turns with
shadow
this one
boxing.
part of the
Apollo,
conversation,
explain why you're
and
not
then just
shadow boxing.
clarify for the
Apollo
dumb
request.
fucks here as to why it's pretty obvious. It is pretty obvious this guy's like switching up, right? So to be clear, if you're going to be making the claim because you are in fact introducing rape into the debate as a means of saying that the relationship between Aisha and the Prophet Muhammad was rape, right? You're stating that,
Yes.
and you're defining rape in virtue of legal consensual or legal
No, I'm
consensual
not. You're
ability,
just
legal
shadow
consent.
boxing.
That is the definition, by the way, Flate. That is the definition that you'd have to be going under, by the way, because if you're not
No,
going
I
under
wouldn't.
the
That's the
legalistic
whole point.
standard, stop talking for a second. Look at you interrupting because you're so scared for me to finish a point, which is killing
This
me
is what
right
my
now.
question
Now,
is
if you're not
relating to.
defining, now if you're not defining, if
This
you're
is the
not
only thing I
defining,
care
to
about
be
is
the
your false
case,
presumption.
if you're not defining, since the mods are not doing their job, if you're not defining rape to be the type of thing which is going to be indexed to legal consent, then that works against your point because you didn't have to justify that Aisha was not willing to even marry the Prophet to begin with, bro. You have to justify that it goes against her agreements, some sort of like contractual agreements, right? So that's not the claim I'm going to want to make. Generally speaking, when someone is saying that this would be rape, they're going to be saying on the basis of the fact that she does not have the ability to legally consent. But then that's going to be indexed to the legal laws, obviously, which, by the way, back then was different. Back then, that was allowed. Back then, that's something which was permissible, legally speaking. So, in that specific case, by the legalistic definition, it would be the case that it would not be rape. By a different definition, where you're just going to simply say that, hey, it is the case that it was rape because Aisha was not on board with the marriage or the relationship. That's going to require even further evidence, which you cannot prove, by the way. So, pick a struggle, dude.
Speaking of things that you can't prove, Apollo, I will give you $1,000 right now, challenge, to go back to this recording and find out where I ever said anything in pertaining to legal consent when I just said consent. And when you come back when you're 95 years old because you can't track to save your fucking life and you'll be shadowboxing for 94 years because you have to be 1 year
Notice
old.
how you're not even
I
attacking
will
the
give you
argument, dude.
wait a minute. Yes, this is very relevant.
You're not even actually
You
talking about the
still
topic,
failed.
dude.
Wait, the reason why
You're
we
still
haven't moved
failing to even
forward
address
is
what you just said,
because you're
dude.
still failing
You're
to
still
answer the
failing to
question.
justify
The
the claim, dude.
question was, did rape exist before legal systems, yes or no? And obviously by
How'd
that
that be
question,
relevant to the
if you
conversation, dude?
it's relevant because if you answer yes,
That's
then you're
not the
conceding
stumbling
that
block.
I'm
How'd
not
that be relevant?
necessarily referring
It
to
wouldn't be
legality
relevant.
when I say
It's not
rape
relevant to you proving
and
the claim
consent.
that Aisha was raped by
So
Muhammad.
it wouldn't be that.
Oh, you agreed it wouldn't be relevant. Got you. So then you asked me the question does not prove your
I
claim,
didn't
correct?
say it wouldn't be relevant. You're not
You just said
tracking.
yes and I said it wasn't relevant. So I take that to be
No,
an agreement. Sorry.
you're not
You're just
listening at all,
tripping over
Paul.
yourself.
Okay,
You're
I'll
like
repeat it again
unironically
because you didn't get
mentally
it.
foggy
This
right
is the
now.
fourth time I have to put Bell
So
to
yes
S.
or no, is it relevant to the
You can't
conversation? You
find
made
so
the
a
claim
million
that
dollars, Apollo. $1
Aisha
million
got raped.
fine where I'm referencing legality.
Saying
Your
that you bet
argument
$1
doesn't
million
work because
over
it's
this
obviously
bullshit
not what I'm
because of
referencing.
rhetorical tactics is not going to prove your claim, dog. Like unironically. So I'm going to ask you one more time: what specific point of this
You see how he still
conversation
hasn't
is
answered the
relevant to
question?
you proving the claim you made?
You still haven't answered the question.
What
The
point
question
in this conversation is relevant to you proving your claim?
The main point of the conversation is that you've shadowboxed and assumed that I was talking about legality when I talked about rape and consent when it came to the
You
relationship of
understand
Muhammad and
that it is
Aisha.
the case that
And I'm going to
B
continue
specifically
answering
goes
your
under the
question.
definition
Wait a
that you're
minute. Wait a
indexing to
minute,
legal
them.
consent does not
Apollo,
count as
if
claim,
you
moron.
mash
But
up your
generally
rhetoric,
speaking,
them.
generally
Apollo,
speaking,
if you
when someone
mash
is
up your
talking about
rhetoric. See, if you ask the
rape,
question,
you're talking
because
about
you're
an
for shadow
index to legal
boxing, you
consent.
can't
So
track
you
because you're
saying
for
primary
shadow
shadow
boxing.
boxing is not really going to be
Was the
something that's helping
marriage
your point,
between
dog.
Ahmed
That's
and
not helping your
Aisha
point,
rape?
bro.
I say
That's just
yes.
helping your point.
You
If
ask
you
me
want
what
to
I mean
say,
when
if
I
you want to
say
say it's going
yes.
under a
Me I
legal
serve when I
economic
mean if
consent,
I
that
say
makes
yes
your point
is
even worse
because
because then
she
you
is
have to
not able to
justify
give
the claim that
consent because
Aisha
she
was
is a
not actually
child.
someone who consented
I
to be
said
married. You
nothing
have to
about
justify that claim.
legality.
You'd have to justify
So
that in
you
a
show me you
non-legal
have to be
sense. You did
retarded.
not consent to
You
the
have to
marriage.
be
You're not talking, by
retarded,
the
and
way.
you have to not
Are you
answer the
stupid?
question.
It's not even a matter of
That is the
assumption.
relevance
It's a matter
that
of
the
you gave
question
a
for
legal,
have.
not the
So
conventionally
can you
accepted
answer the
terminology.
question,
You're
Apollo?
very, you're
Can
not
you
going to use the
answer the question?
terminology. It could be the
The
case that
question
more
is
than
one more
likely
time:
you're referring
did
to legal
rape
consent.
exist before
Most people
legal
in these
systems? Yes.
conversations, no, shut the fuck up, bitch boy. Most people in these types of conversations where they're saying that a 9-year-old cannot have sex legally or say cannot consent to sex, they're saying that on the basis of legal laws. And you're making that claim. So it's just an inductive argument, clearly, given the general inductive case of people saying this, that you would be in fact indexed into legal laws. And the very fact you're saying that you're not saying this right now is most definitely emblematic of you not being able to justify your claim after realizing that back then it was legally permissible and you fucked up. Now that requires you to make a new claim. Now the new claim is simply, well, not really a new claim, but another different interpretation of the original claim. You can argue that in a non-legal sense, she did not consent to the action. I've repeatedly asked you numerous times, justify the claim. I'm willing to grant the fallacious, erroneous assumption that you're not talking about legal consent and go on to the other specific horn of the dichotomy. If you're not talking about legal consent, I'm going to ask you to justify the claim that she did not consent to the marriage and any sort of sexual intercourse. Justify that claim. Stop wasting our time. A little bit.
So will you admit that you are not answered the question and you were shadowboxing the whole time when it came to my position, Apollo?
I'm waiting for the argument for the claim that she did not consent.
Will you just admit that before we can move on? Because
Do you
that
agree
is
that
the
you're
whole
giving an
point.
argument right now?
Because
Yes or
you
no?
haven't answered the question that did rape exist before Babylon. You
Are
still
you of
haven't
the
answered that
position of
question.
giving an argument right now?
Will you answer the question,
Do you
Apollo?
hold to the position of giving an argument for the claim that she did not consent to the marriage?
Yes, and you have to be shadow boxing the whole point. We're
So
talking
what was
about
the argument
legality.
for the
So
claim
you
that
have
she
to
did
be
not
talking
consent?
about
What
legality
was the
when
argument to prove the
everybody in
claim
here,
she did not consent?
already
What was the
heard
argument
what
to
I said.
prove the claim that she did not consent?
Okay, the argument again was that children cannot consent. The child, in reference to the mind, cannot consent, not legality. So when you ask me to clarify about
And that she
whether it
did
was
not
mental
consent
maturity or not,
presupposes the
not
claim that she did not
legality,
consent.
I answered your question by
That
saying
literally
yes,
begs
that is
the
one
question,
of
dude. You're
those
saying that
things.
since
It
she did
will
not
cause the
consent,
child
this
harm
poses the very
because they
claim
cannot
that she
consent
did not
mentally
consent.
speaking. I
That's
didn't
the
even talk
question-begging
about
argument, dude.
physical
That's
maturity, even though it
That's
could
the
cause
question-begging.
physical damage,
That's
but I
question-begging.
wasn't even
That's the
referring to that
question-begging
right
argument.
now. The only
The
talking about
premise
mental
of the
maturity,
conclusion back
and
to
you
the
have to be
premise,
not
dude.
track, Apollo. And you thought I was talking
Even
about
if it does not
legality.
track, it's not
You
going to change from an argument,
bombaraz
bro.
them. Bomba
This is such a
rhetoric
bad
them.
look for you. You're making the question-begging argument thinking for some
Apollo,
reason.
you have to be, have no
You say she
rhetoric.
cannot
Praise to be
consent.
to the Most High Selassie Jah Rastafari.
So hilarious, dude. So, anyways, just to be clear on this, you made the argument that, oh, it is the case she did not consent because she cannot consent. Well, that's going to be something which is in question. For you to say that she cannot consent, it
You have to
presupposes
be
the very
straw
claim.
man me, Apollo. Me not say that.
Could you prove it to be the case? Could you prove it is logically
Me not say
possible?
that,
Yes or
Apollo.
no?
You have to
How is
be
it
straw.
theoretically
Me a
possible
mash up the
that you
straw
should
men
not
them.
consent, given her mental maturity, given her physical maturity? How is it impossible for her to consent?
Me I go and say it again. So you're not to be straw man me,
You're so
Apollo.
retarded, dude. Holy shit. I'm actually
Bomba
genuinely
rhetoric them.
concerned about
You have
your
to have
mental health.
bomba
Like, really,
rhetoric them. Let
truly.
me answer
It
your
just
question.
blows my
Let me
mind how you
clarify
think for some
so
reason
you
you think
don't
you're
come
actually
any more
dominant.
slow. So
Dude, if
Apollo,
you're
don't
going to be
feel
making
become
this
any
claim,
more
let's just put this
slow.
one more
Let
time
me
because it's
answer
just
it
so
one
funny
more
to me.
time.
It's just so funny to me how you
In
think
terms of
that you're going
mental
to ask me to repeat the
maturity,
argument
not
and then speak
legal.
over me. It's just so hilarious to me. But just to be clear, that's not how debates work. That's how insecurity works, okay? When I'm talking about the idea of you saying that, oh, she cannot consent, right? That's you being utilized as the premise for the conclusion that she did not consent is going to be an implicit question back. Of course, if it was to be the case she cannot consent, she would not consent in that particular instance. However, of course, if we're going to say she cannot consent, are you talking about legal modality? Are you talking about theoretical or logical modality, empirical or physical modality? Like what sort of like modality or type of possibility are you saying there when you're saying she does not have the ability to consent? Of course, it cannot be legal modality because you literally retracted that specific presupposition. You did not say that you're talking about, or rather, you said that you did not say you're talking about legal consent. So you'd have to be talking about some sort of like other different type of possibility. Clearly, I'm not going to be making the claim that it is logically impossible for her to consent. That's going to be a claim that you cannot prove, by the way. Clearly not going to be saying that it's physically impossible for her to consent because there's no laws of physics which rules out the possibility of Aisha to be able to consent. So what sort of claim are you making, bro? What's the justification that she cannot consent given the evidence available which points towards her being mentally and physically mature for the relationship, bro? Give me that evidence.
Am I unmuted? Hello? What the fuck we keep? Yeah.
Yes, you're unmuted, bro.
This is annoying. But yeah, just to be so real with you, Apollo, like I'm not trying to make fun of you or anything, even though you're a pedophile. I'm just saying that I'm not retracting legality as the modality because I never gave it and taken it away. You falsely assumed that I was talking about legality as the modality that I was using when I was talking about consent and whatnot. So that was just a straw man on your part, and that's what I'm really trying to get you to understand. Like I'm actually trying to help you. Like when you're talking to me about, you have to use legal this or legal that, and then in your next breath say, "Are you talking about this modality, logical modality, legal modality?" You automatically just bit yourself in the ass in terms of backtracking because you're admitting that it's not the only modality I can talk about when I'm referring to consent and rape. That's why I asked you earlier, did rape exist before legal systems, yes or no? Because obviously there's more than one modality when it pertains to whether or not a girl can consent or not. And my reasoning for earlier as to saying why Aisha couldn't consent is because she was a child. And as she was a child, she was underdeveloped in terms of mental maturity, which is the first point that you asked me to clarify what I was talking about. And then you ran off with that legal modality bullshit. So can you please get
Yeah, you're
back to
just
what I'm
confused,
arguing
bro. You're
for?
extremely confused in
So
this topic. You're extremely confused right now. You're giving a TED
I
talk
just
and
showed
not
how you
actually
straw man,
presenting any
and you're
evidence.
saying I'm the one who
So
that's
fucking
confused.
crazy to me, bro. You spend all of the time yapping on and not give any piece of evidence for the claim that she cannot consent. Wow, that's crazy. Typical Clorox debating tactic where you just go off point. Oh, you deliberately picked this topic, by the way, because you know for a fact that it would be funny to make like pedophilic jokes about Apollo because of the supposed allegations, and you don't even have any evidence for your claims, bro. You don't even have any evidence for the claims that Aisha, for example, cannot consent. I specifically pressed you on this. I've basically laid out the different possible interpretations or means by which could be justifying this claim and laid out how you not be able to justify the claim that she cannot consent given a legal modality or a physical modality or a logical modality. And basically what just happened was you yapped your way, tried to optically dance around the substance of those fucking arguments, bro. And guess what? The only persons you can ever convince this low tier, low IQ debate strategy is just the low tiers in the fucking chat, not someone with the IQ of 70, bro. So again, I'm going to do this one more time. Do you have an argument in favor of the proposition that Aisha cannot, and by cannot, I assume you're saying that she's unable to legally consent? Do you have an argument, yes or no? If you think you've given the argument in this debate, tell me how you have justified that claim. If you do not have any sort of argument which you think has been established in this specific conversation, then we can just go into that argument right here, right now. Stop trying to meta debate and go into a side drama about whether or not I'll shed the box in, because I know for a fact that you are just doing this because you don't have a legitimate argumentative defense for the claim that she was in fact unable to legally consent, or not legally, but just consent generally. So give an argument, dude. Is he muted? That was on me this time. Let me just unmute him. Hello. There you go. Give the argument.
Yes, I was muted, Apollo. And no matter how many times you
I
try
wasn't
to
looking at my
ignore the
screen, by the way.
argument, that's
Give the
yeah, no
argument.
matter how many times
First
you
time
try
in
to
the debate on
ignore
whether
the
you're muted or not.
argument
Just
when
give
I
the
gave
argument.
the argument, it's not going to change the fact that I gave an argument in the first place. The argument again is that she's not able to consent as a child. Why? Because as a child, she has mental maturity that's underdeveloped. And the development of mental maturity requires things such as the ability to know the ground, not the ground, what's the word? The gravity of things when pertaining to certain situations that they're able to handle. And we see with children, this is almost universally not the case when it comes to things like sex, alcohol, and other things that have lifelong impairments. So I didn't know that I had to lay that out for you, that for most children, it obviously is universally accepted that almost damn near that this is the case. But yes, that is the argument. And running away from the argument of why she wouldn't be
So in
able
other
to
words,
give consent. Wait a minute. And running away from the fact that she wouldn't be able to give consent because she's a child and children can't have this mental maturity, which you agreed is at the very least, a modality that I could use besides legality. The only person biting themselves in the ass is you.
yeah, that was really terrible. I'm really sorry about that. But just to address the supposed quote unquote argument you've given for the claim, right? Hold on, I think I'm still on the freaking speaker. Give me a second. Yeah. just to change my audio output. So just to support this argument, the horse argument given for the claim that she cannot consider, like, oh, look at this, guys, are going to be appealing to this sort of consensus. Oh, most people would definitely agree that it is universally blah 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 blah. Not an argument, dude. There's a rule of the possibility of such. So if you're granted that it is logically possible, which it is logically possible for it to be the case that a child of that age can consent, then it would be the case that it is logically possible, and so that claim would be false. The claim that she cannot consent, that's false given a logical modality. Under a physical modality, it would be false because there's no laws of physics or nature which is impeding the sort of ability to consent to having sex. That's retarded. Like, of course, it's fucking physically or logically possible for there to be some sort of child with a sort of, you could say, neurological development who knows all the facts about sex, for example, and knows the consequences which comes with it, the consequences and the responsibilities of relationship and so forth, and as a result of that can, you could say, justifiably agree to this particular activity, right? So given these sorts of like scopes or types of possibilities, that would be a possibility. And so she would be able to consent, right? I don't think any person of the current generation, perhaps, can consent at that age. However, back then, I think it's different. I think, for example, the sort of society you live in, for example, the society you live in, the situations you face on a daily basis, and all of these things are emblematic and helps to shape the mental maturity that someone has. So, for example, in Gaza, for instance, I think the average person, and anyone who is not retarded can hear this, the average person or the average kid, the average 10-year-old, the average 13-year-old guy or kid in Gaza is far more mentally mature, is far more responsible than the average 30-year-old grown as adult in the US who like sits in his mom's basement and not have any single job. He's not faced anywhere near as much as those sort of kids. And those kids, I've seen situations where I've seen multiple kids in that specific region, in that geographical location, who are far more mature, mentally speaking, than grown as adults. The reason being that what determines maturity is not necessarily the age, you moron, but rather it's the set of experiences you have which are worthy or which are impactful to make you make better decisions in your world or better decisions in real life. And I think in that specific case scenario, given all the narratives surrounding Aisha and how she was the leader of the women back then, and how she was so credible to the point where she was deemed to be credible enough to report hadith about the Prophet ﷺ, then all of these indicates that she has a level of neurological and you could say mental maturity, which is unlike most, if not all other people of that age. So for it to appeal to these sort of group of people and say, oh, majority of 9-year-olds cannot consent, therefore the same thing should apply to Aisha is a trash argument, because even though it's an inductive argument, that argument is equally expected under the hypothesis that she can in fact consent, because she's different from literally every other 9-year-old female in existence. It's a trash dog-based argument. Last but not least, I've just laid out the idea that these different types of possibilities, whether it's logical possibility, theoretical possibility, empirical or physical possibility, or legal possibility, all of these things would not in fact be in correspondence to their point. From a legal standpoint, she would be able to consent because back then, child marriage was allowed. And the funny thing is, if you want to talk about child marriage and the legality of such, child marriage was only banned in New York in 2018. In fact, there was a child marriage in the US in 2012 where a freaking 12-year-old married. So if you want to talk about child marriage, it's not even fully banned. It's in the US, dumb fuck. If you want to talk about the legality of such, back then it was even more prevalent back then in Christianity and Islam and majority of the religions back then. Well, that was a normal freaking thing. I'm not saying it's okay because it's a normal thing, but I'm telling you here simply from a legalistic standpoint, that would not favor or justify or substantiate your wild position right now, your dumb position. So under all the scopes available, your claim would be false, and not to mention have just undercut and defeated the credibility and the credence of your trash arguments a while ago. So do you have any new arguments to redeem yourself, or are you going to just end the debate right here because you have no other sort of substantive responses to actually justify your dumb claim? Pick a struggle.
Hello? Is this thing on?
Yeah.
Yo, can you hear me? Okay. Yo, let me get that out of the last part out of the way first. Don't ever do Christianity like that. It was acceptable in Islam to do that, yes, but for Christianity, like most marriages would occur to women, which we know was at least, at the very least, considered 16 to 17 and above. So no, child marriage wasn't indicative of that. And no, I'm not talking about legality for the last fucking time. I don't know how many times that I have to tell you that I'm not talking about legality. So all the points that you brought up about legally speaking, oh, Islam allowed rape with kids, so it was okay back then. It was different back then. That makes no fucking sense. Because you would, number one, have to say that there is some sort of mental difference in maturity between those age groups during those different times, which you can't posit at all. And number two, you would have to prove the latter would even correlate to implying a consent of any kind, which you can't, because that's retarded. Also, Aisha being able to, and this like deals with your broader point from beforehand, like mental maturity being different between age groups isn't really that unheard of, but it never ever talks about children having more mental maturity than adults, even scientifically speaking. And the reason is because brain development is relevant when it talks about somebody's ability to consent or accept the gravity of a situation. Like even in your own like special ed class that you attend to, like I'm sure you find some helmet kids that are like when it comes to accepting like dares or something or pranks you might do on them, not knowing the gravity of what might be happening or you might be being set up or something. This is because brain development actually plays a key role in talking about the ability to consent, such as myelination, synaptic pruning, emotional regulation, implications, and being able to draw those with the brain. Neuroplasticity is what you're referring to when you're talking about a child's ability to absorb things at a young age. Most adults can't even interpret a second language or even another language if they never spoke one, but children can absorb in a language and like learn it perfectly sometimes, like almost like 9 times out of 10. Like I know you probably pay attention to like the academics and in kids schools and their brains, so I know you're very interested in that. So that's just a few scientific facts for you. Also, the notion that all of this circling back to you to bite you in the ass doesn't point to my position being even slightly more reasonably the case, and that there has to be like some weird equal interpretation with you is completely retarded, because again, you're ignoring what I'm using as an argument and actually refuting it. And if you want to end it, it's fine, but I'm tired of pedophiles defending child marriage as is, so this is like an easy GG's. It's never been anything new. That's all I have to say. Do I get server muted now?
Genuinely that response actually works, then I'm really concerned about your mental health first and foremost. Secondly, moving on to the arguments or the supposed attempt to respond to my arguments, really, you're like, Apollo, you're basically saying that if Islam think rape was okay back then, therefore it was okay. Dude, first and foremost, the statement is so loaded right there, okay? This is the typical dishonest Tier 4 to 7 rhetorical performance and strategy from the Tier 8 debater, Clorox, okay? It's when you like basically make loaded statements which has presuppositions which is yet to be established, okay? When they're going to make the, for example, that, oh, you believe that Islam allowed for rape back then. No, I don't even grant that Islam even allowed rape to begin with at any moment in time, okay? Given the definition we're operating under this conversation, okay? I don't even grant that claim first and foremost. It's established that claim being correct. I've sent the sources, by the way.
I know you don't
in the
grant
chat
it. I proved it right afterwards.
Just stop talking for a second, retard. It's my turn now, okay? Just relax for a second, okay? So as it relates to the claim that you made specifically, you said, oh, child marriage never happened in Christianity. That's retarded. First and foremost, it was prevalent. The age of consent was much lower back then. If we're going to be tracing back to the times of, like, for example, when Christianity was prevalent in Europe, and for example, and the Caribbean, for instance, when the Europeans take over the Caribbean countries and so forth, the age of consent was not 18, you moron. The age of consent was lower than 18. There have been several case scenarios of there literally being child marriages. In fact, the U.S., by the way, some of the U.S. cultures and values are shaped by Christian values, right? And we know for a fact that it has been established and then posted the links in the chat, whereas the U.S., the United States, literally allowed for child marriage. It was still, and I'm pretty sure it's still legal. It's very niche, a bit like one or two places. But it was even allowed in New York. Up until 2018, it was banned from New York. There was literally child marriage of like a 12-year-old getting married in this 21st century before or after 2010, post 2010 era in the US. Which, by the way, a lot of the values in the US, by the way, which the leftists are trying to transform, are shaped by, guess what? Your religious values, Christianity, you dumb fucking loser. So yes, Christianity did in fact espouse marriage towards kids, or you could say kids who are younger than 18. Yes, of course that's the case. In fact, lower than 16, if anything. You don't even know the facts about your own religion, but you're here trying to talk about my religion. You're here trying to condemn my religion. You're here trying to criticize my religion. You don't have the knowledge of my religion to make any sort of substantive, productive, intelligent critiques or polemics. And you don't even have the knowledge in your own religion to acknowledge the fact that your religion embraces the same sort of values about marriage that my religion does, you dumb retard. So just to be clear on this, if you're not an underdeveloped ape, you'd have understood that. But just to move on from that, you also have not addressed the point of giving a substantial argument, and now he feels the need to unmute himself to speak over me because he's so insecure about the rhetoric. The other part, though, you have quite literally not even addressed the logical possibility claim, the physical possibility claim, the legal possibility claim. You, if anything, I'm just going to take it that you not acknowledging, or sorry, you not addressing those claims and me establishing that it would be legally okay, or legally okay back then for that to be a marriage or relationship, and it being logically and physically possible, that you in fact would not deny those claims. I'm just going to take it that you can see that from a legal or physical or logical modality, it would be the case that she can in fact consent. And last but not least, just to not waste people's time here, just to get things wrapping up, you made the claim that the ability to basically learn better or adapt to languages is what neuroplasticity is. You don't even know what neuroplasticity is, you dumb moron. Neuroplasticity is simply the cognitive framework where you have one specific brain part which is able to subserve the function of a lost brain part, which is proven by lesion experiments in the rat cases, you dumb fucking moron. You don't even know the person, by the way. I can bet if I ask you the scientist who has proven neuroplasticity using rat lesion experiments, you don't even know that answer. You also don't even know what I was just talking about a while ago, but you don't even know anything regarding neuroscience, regarding religion, regarding philosophical argumentation, nothing whatsoever. You're just a dishonest sophist who thinks for some reason that making this sort of, like you could say, nonchalant approach is going to convince any person who is actually intelligent that you know what you're talking about, and really and truly, we both know you don't. So I'm going to try again with you. I'm going to try again with you. Just give an argument, one last chance, as to why she cannot consent. She has no sort of ability to consent, given the information we have available. If you fail again for the fourth time, I'm going to take this to be a waste of my time, and we can just head to conclusions gladly. Go ahead, Shincham.
Silly pedophile. Your rhetoric doesn't work here. Okay, let's work backwards, actually, because neuroplasticity actually is what I was talking about that is relevant when it comes to like pertaining to learning languages and stuff. That actually highlights the main point of why your argument doesn't follow. And instead of actually addressing why that could be wrong, you're just ignoring it and say, you don't know what neuroplasticity means. Neuroplasticity doesn't mean that. Neuroplasticity is literally the brain's plasticity or ability to recognize and adapt, still developing during adolescence and early adulthood. This can affect the ability to make informed decisions and provide consent. Okay, so you were just retarded in saying that that had nothing to do with that. We just proved that right now. Also, I said that child marriage wasn't permissible in Christianity, not that Christians never married kids. Obviously, there are some people professing to be Christian or some pastors that have really Apollo-esque origin stories. Like we get them the fuck out of here. We know that happens from time to time. But your doctrine allows for the raping of kids, and before you say that I didn't prove that, I actually did prove that with my reasoning that you ignored. We see that you continue to shadow box and ignore arguments that actually disprove your position.
He did it against Zizu. He's shadow boxing now.
I know, right? Like this is what he's doing the whole. But chill for a second. Okay, I also said that the implications of not just neuroplasticity, but also brain development, emotional regulation, synaptic pruning, and myelination are things that are key to making informed decisions and understanding the gravities of situations. And you didn't respond to my point either that would lead to consent. Neither did you respond to my counterpoint to yours talking about, well, Aisha was somebody who was able to recite hadith and whatnot. And I just used the neuroplasticity as an example of children being able to absorb more information than adults. And it doesn't follow that they're more mentally mature because of that. Like that was just retarded on your part. And yes, your plasticity will reduce as you age, but that doesn't mean that now senior citizens can't consent or retired people can't consent. Obviously, what differs is not just your ability to learn and regurgitate something, it's able to understand the concepts of what you're talking about, situation based. So, in a scenario where you have a really, really big gravity of things that could have a multitude of consequences, you need to not only be aware of them and be informed of them, you also have to have a conceptual understanding of the gravity of those consequences and what it could lead to. This is why smaller consequences usually happen to kids rather than bigger ones. And even in your example, when you say Aisha is like separate from the rest because her like ability to like regurgitate information is really high compared to others. You even agree with me on this point that I'm making that completely shits on what you're actually saying. Also, Mr. Pedophile, you also have to realize that when you're ignoring statements, you can't just say that, oh, you have no argument, because everybody here can hear what I'm saying. You just look really shitty not responding to them. And I'm trying to help you out as much as I can rhetorically. I can't help you out when police find child porn on your laptop, but all I can do is just like advise you. Please engage with the argument rather than dismissing it just because it doesn't align with your pedo child marrying narrative. That's all. And
That was fucking hilarious. So moving on. So his whole argument is simply talking about the idea of, oh, if you're making this claim, then don't make police find you. Fucking moron. No one said it's legally permissible to have child marriage the current day, you dumb fucking idiots. When people are when people defending religions are making the claim that it is okay, for example, for child marriage to be a thing back then, they're not making a moralistic claim in most cases. They're making a legal claim. They're making a claim about legal consent and what would shape the consensual laws dependent on the legal, you could say, foundations which exist back then. So for it to then talk about the police is really hilarious. And your whole argument, or rather the whole crux of your rhetoric, is you saying, oh, Mr. Pedophile, just this, just that, a whole bunch of personal name calling. When I'm doing the name calling, at the very least, I'm giving arguments. You're not even giving an argument. You think for some reason that me appearing with you on Aisha being able to regurgitate information shits on my point. You're so fucking stupid. That doesn't shit on my point. That strengthens it, you idiot. That consolidates my points. My point is simply that her being able, not just being able to regurgitate the information, but she being able to understand the social context which shapes the meaning of the hadith is the type of thing which indicates that she's blessed, mentally speaking, and so forth, put her on the same pedestal as other 9-year-olds who has shown the inability to do the same feats or replicate the same feat is retarded. It's absolutely ridiculous to believe that, oh, because other 9-year-olds don't have this sort of like mentalistic ability to consent, then it must be the case, or it is most likely that Aisha cannot consent. That's retarded, because I've literally given a good reason as to why she'd be a justified exception. You'd have to invalidate that, which you have not done. Then you talked about, oh, it's an ability of neuroplasticity. You retard. No one is denying the association in any way whatsoever between neuroplasticity and learning, you dumb fuck. I'm saying specifically that when you're claiming that the ability to adapt is what neuroplasticity is, that's false. Even the characteristic or consequential characteristic of neuroplasticity does not mean that it is in fact what neuroplasticity even is. That's incorrect. I gave it the actual definition of neuroplasticity. I've also explicated on the experiment which demonstrates neuroplasticity. You don't know what you're talking about, bro. You're just yapping your way through, hoping that at some moment you might actually see a good point. Now, again, with the other parts, really, you were talking about the idea of there being some sort of like justification for it being the case that she cannot consent. You've not even given the justification, really. You've not even addressed the point regarding the idea that from a legalistic perspective, which you're appealing to, by the way, to basically make some sort of rhetorical polemic against me, that she would in fact be able to consent. A while ago, you're appealing to a legalistic standard. You're saying, oh, don't make the police catch you, Apollo, because you get locked up. Buddy, if we had the police back then, which we kind of did have police back then, but not in the same sense, they would not even condemn it, because guess what, it was legally consensual, or sorry, legally okay. So you're going to be talking about legality, that works against your point. I've told you this numerous times, that works against your point. Stop appealing to legality, because guess what? It would in fact be legally permissible. It has been legally permissible for several centuries. I'm not sure if you've done any history class. I know you're uneducated as fuck, so you might not know about this, but for several centuries in non-religious and religious domains, in secular societies and in non-secular societies, in Christian and Islamic societies, for example, and even in Hinduistic societies. This has been the legal foundation and building block for marriages. This has been the legal building block insofar as the permissibility of those sort of marriages. So you can't appeal to legality here. So just omit this from your trash argument. Moving on to the other part, you've not demonstrated or shown any sort of empirical study. Well, this is the question I have for you, actually. I would love for you to show me some sort of empirical study from some scientists or some biologists which establishes the impossibility of children to be able to understand the gravity of sexual relationships, the gravity of the responsibilities which comes with it, as well as the facts regarding sexual relationships. You'd have to show some empirical studies, some scientific studies to establish the impossibility or the inability for children to be able to cognitively understand and consent to these abilities, because you're making scientific claims here. You're entering the domain in the realm of science, and you're going to be making the claim that they cannot consent to these actions insofar as their cognitive landscape allows. So do you have any sort of studies in cognitive science or neuroscience or in biology which would prove that claim? The answer is no. You have no studies. You're just pontificating. And if you can prove me wrong and present the studies for it, which you won't be able to present any studies, by the way, because there are no existent studies which establishes the factuality of your point. It's not a factual point. It's factually incorrect, if anything. So yes, maybe if you focus less on the whole, oh, Paul, you're a pedophile. Oh, Paul, your religion allows for rape, and focus more what's called, substance, and give actual legitimate arguments, actual legitimate hard facts, actual legitimate proof for your claims, then you'd have a better chance at looking good optically, at least to non-low IQ retards, the low IQ retards in the chat. But until then, you're not doing a good job in convincing anyone from a factualistic perspective that your point is correct or justified, other than the latter, on the contrary. So that's basically it.
I just wanted to say
The
that shout
argument
out.
pro pedophilia, by the way, for the person in the chat, the argument is it's not immoral, or sorry, it's not the case that Aisha was not able to consent in the case of Islam. That doesn't mean that I believe that in the current society we should do this shit. I don't agree that in the current society there are people of that level of cognitive ability, given the supernatural blessings that Allah has passed down, which allow for that to be permissible. And in fact, Islam is against child marriage in the current times. Not that they're against child marriage in the case of Aisha, though. So no, I'm not pro-pedophilia. I'm just saying, hey, it is not okay in the current time due to the change or the modification of facts socialistically and cognitively. However, back then, in the case of Aisha, it was okay. That's an exception. So the whole straw man in, you could say, optical performances or strategies you guys are trying to pull off here, it's not going to really work for me. Sorry. I don't know why Drip Sauce is talking. Like Drip Sauce, I heard he's like talking to like fucking 13-year-old kids or something. If that's the real Drip Sauce, by the way. I'm not sure if it's like an algae.
Nope, that's drip sauce. We got the real drip.
I don't know why I still muted, by the way. Hold on. Wow.
Oh yeah, I forgot I can mod. I'm so sorry. I thought Bert was doing it.
Muted.
Yeah, a lot. It's satanic, buddy. Anyways, you're right. Maybe I should stop saying things about like Apollo being a pedophile, because I only said it like once or twice within that whole like dialogue, and he thought that it was actually a part of my argument when I just told him that he might want to look out for the police when they find child porn on his computer. Like that's not a part of my argument at all. So maybe I should stop, because that's giving him more excuses to run away from the argument than actually address it like I suggest he did. So again, you're ignoring how neuroplasticity is thoroughly defined as I defined it. And it is the brain's plasticity or ability to recognize, adapt, reorganize, and still develop when talking about the ability to make informed decisions and explicitly provide consent as a necessary derivative. If children don't possess, by definition, these qualities, then they wouldn't be able to do it. So when I talked about how your definition of what it means to be mentally mature refers to neuroplasticity, and neuroplasticity doesn't refer necessarily to being able to necessarily have consent, then it would just prove your point wrong. Because again, in the example about how children are more neuroplastic than, say, adults, or like maybe middle-aged adults, like children can pick up multiple languages, most adults can't. That's just because of the neuroplasticity and the ability to regurgitate information. Aisha has this. That doesn't mean that she has the mental maturity to understand these concepts. And when you automatically just wrote in that she was understanding these concepts, you have no basis for that because you haven't given us to it. You're just saying that it was a miracle by Satan, Allah. That's all you believe. And you have no empirical justification of this, nor do you have scientific justification of this, because even the neuroplasticity definition kind of rapes you apart. And when talking about child marriage, historically speaking, again, the legality is not what's being talked about. The amount of times I had to lead you away from this line of thinking, like, because I'm obviously referring to a moral necessity here. If it morally is impermissible to rape, and I define rape as the ability to conceptually not be able to consent, if children don't hold this ability, then they wouldn't be able to consent. And if you have sex with a 9-year-old that can't consent, what is that? That is by definition rape, regardless of the legal definition of how anybody's protected by it. It's irrelevant. Like, please stop running away from the argument. And not only that, there are these other ways that consent is derived by that I listed to you that don't necessarily have to deal with neuroplasticity and Aisha being able to absorb and regurgitate information that can necessitate whether or not you can identify whether or not they actually accept the grounding and gravity and understanding of the weight of the scenario that they're in. Now, for children, this is a gradual increase, such as difficulty in grades and education. That's like an obvious one, except if you're SPED or something. But then again, that would directly refer to your understanding of concepts and whether or not you can actually grasp the gravity of what these scenarios suggest. And you, for some reason, are like avoiding that. I don't know why. You just want to harp on the fact that I made pedo jokes at you because you're a pedophile and I think you worship Satan. But besides that, I don't really have any like thing to say because he keeps running away from the point at hand. We can't really continue if you're just going to keep avoiding the argument. Do you want to like conclude or something? Because
Okay.
it is
So,
kind of
Clark,
getting
are you
Are you
repetitive.
done
okay
with
with
now?
making closing
Gotcha,
statements?
cool.
How
So
do you
just
feel
to address
about
the
that?
points you made. I know you love to accuse someone of being a pedophile even though they're not. But I mean, if you think dating someone who's 2 years younger than you is a pedophile, is what pedophilia actually is, then not only have you demonstrated your ignorance on like religion and all this stuff, and as it pertains to like what it means for someone to be able to consent, but then you're further demonstrating your ignorance on what pedophilia even is, you dumb fuck. Because pedophilia is attraction to prepubescent children. Someone who's 2 years younger than a 19-year-old is not prepubescent, you moron. That would be pedophilia by definition. But moving on, since you want to go around and just throw around labels like hey Apollo, you're a pedophile, I can just do the same thing back to you and that's fine. So that's not pedophile, since I'm just using a rhetorical strategy and just to mock you really. So pedophile, I'm not sure if you understand what's going on here, but I'm basically making the argument here that it is the case that if you're going to be appealing to, I never said you were only appealing to a legal standard, but if you were to be appealing to a legal standard for the mere justification for your claim, then that claim would fall apart. I'm not sure if you understand the very basic distinction between conditional sentences and non-conditional sentences, but that was basically a conditional sentence, okay? Also, I was not saying that you calling me a pedophile was a part of your argument. I said it was a part of your rhetorical, you could say, attempt to convince the like your retards in the chat that you're winning the conversation. The other part is simply your whole argument is, hey, Apollo, if it was to be the case that children necessarily can't consent, then it would be the case they would not be able to consent. Like, no fucking shit. Of course, if necessarily children did not have the sort of like, you could say, framework to be able to consent, then they would not be able to consent. Make it a conditional sentence and prove that the antecedents of such are proven that they necessarily can do this is different. You've not proven that claim, you've not established that necessarily speaking they cannot do this in any sort of like biological framework or any sort of like neuroscientific framework. You've not cited any studies whatsoever, just making a whole bunch of scientific claims, a whole bunch of biological claims about like how the way the mind works and all of that stuff. And you just really don't know what you're talking about. And again, the secondhand embarrassment watching someone like you just pontificating about things that you don't know about and words you can't even spell properly yourself because you're illiterate as fuck. Now, the other part is simply, Paul, neuroplasticity shits in your point. You're stupid. You're actually one of the worst dumbasses I've ever debated off this year. If you think the idea of one brain part, and by the way, just to educate you as well as the morons in the chat, What neuroplasticity is, by the way, not what you're saying it is. What it really is the idea or the ability of one brain part, let's say the right hemisphere, to subserve or take over the function of another brain part if that part was to be missing. That's the ability of neuroplasticity, which has been demonstrated from what is called rat lesion experiments and other experiments on different animals, whereas that happened in those animals. And this has happened amongst human beings. That's what neuroplasticity is. Now, the new question is, how the fuck does this have any relevancy to whether Aisha can consent? The answer is it does not have any relevancy, right? Which is why I won't be able to answer that question too. Also, you made the claim that Aisha, or when I made the claim that Aisha has this sort of like mental maturity and has the ability to understand the gravity of certain situations that requires scientific evidence, you fucking retard. That's not a scientific claim. That's a claim which is grounded in the idea of some supernatural cause, you retard. Of course, the principle, you can't have non-scientific claims which are grounded by scientific evidence, you retard. It is the case that it'll be a category error. You have for biological or neurophysiological evidence to support that claim is dumb as shit, because I'm not making a neurophysiological or biological claim when I'm saying Aisha has this sort of miracle. You can't undercut or defeat miraculous type claims with science, because guess what? The supposed response in most cases, at the very least, would be a category error. It is equally expected under the view that it was a miracle that there would not be any scientific evidence. If there was to be a miracle, it could not be understood or grasped by the various scientific foundations or equipments that exist, you moron, because guess what? It's something which lies and transcends the naturalistic functionality of reality, you dumb moron. So, of course, even if I was not presenting any scientific evidence, it wouldn't be evidence against the view, it wouldn't be evidence for your view either. If anything, that just further is expected by my view to begin with. And also, it's very obvious your burden shifts, and it's pretty obvious you've not proven the claims that children necessarily, given the empirics, cannot do this action. You've not demonstrated any claim whatsoever, which is granted by any studies whatsoever. And all you do is just, as the pedophile you are, just always call about or talk about someone else being a pedophile because you just love projecting your pedophilic instincts and you could say your sort of desires onto other people, which is really strange, by the way. Really strange, by the way. But moving on with this, just for anyone who is listening to this debate and conversation, if you draw from this debate that this guy has proven this point, and if you draw from this debate that I'm supporting pedophilia, you're a retard. I'm not supporting pedophilia, especially the current generation. All I'm saying here is that there's one exception. Still talking, by the way. This is one exception of there being a child marriage which is morally justified. However, almost universally speaking, it is not something which is morally justified, especially in the current generation, whereas kids of that age, I don't deem them to be mentally mature rather than to actually engage in such. I'm done talking.
Jesus Christ, thank you. Okay.
You can go no pedophile.
Let's work backwards again, because obviously you still don't understand what I mean when I'm saying these things. The scientific evidence supports the philosophical position. That's the entire point of my argument. Well, actually, let me ask you something first before I continue. You don't have to say anything else, just answer yes or no. Do you believe that scientific evidence can support philosophical conclusions or philosophical positions even? Just yes or no.
That's such an obvious question, bro.
It's obvious, but what he's been claiming obviously goes against like this notion. So I just want to ask him: do you believe that scientific evidence can support philosophical conclusions or positions?
The notion that scientific claims can support philosophical claims?
Can you just answer the question? If you don't, I'll just continue.
What did I claim which goes against the position?
If you'll just answer the question,
the presumption that I
can you just answer the question?
Made which goes against the claim that scientific evidence can support philosophical claims.
Can you just answer the question?
You made a claim that I did in fact say a claim which goes against the position.
Just how hard is it for you to answer questions? Jesus Christ. Okay, Apollo, me going to ask you one more time. Me going to ask you one more time, Apollo. Does scientific evidence support conclusions? Yes or no? Yes or no?
Question, dude. Look, it's a very simple thing. You're asking me specifically, is it the case that you believe that scientific evidence, right, can support philosophical positions? The answer is yes, you moron. You made a claim that it is not the case. Or sorry, it is the case. I made a specific claim which goes against that claim. Now, what have I said in this conversation which contradicts the claim that scientific claims or evidence can support philosophical claims? Quote me right now. Tell me what I've said specifically. Go. Don't dodge. Give me the quotes.
You told me don't dodge or you just muted me. What the fuck?
Yeah, give me the
Anyways,
code, dude.
anyways, okay.
What have
So
I said,
I'm
dude?
glad
Tell
I'm
me.
glad I'm
Tell the
glad that
audience.
you admit that scientific
I think you
evidence
owe
can
the
support.
audience
Wait a
what you're
minute,
saying.
wait a minute,
Just stop
Bim.
rambling and give the
Me
fucking
I go
evidence, dude.
on Babylon
Can
pedophile
you just
them.
give the argument,
Anyways,
dude?
anyways,
Tell me the claim I've made.
me I go on
Tell me
elaborate.
the claim I've
Me I go
made.
on elaborate. You have to be kid touching them. Me I mash up your bomber clot.
I just want to hear the claim I've made, which goes against the position. You're not going to just make claims and stack claims upon claims and not prove your fucking claims every single time. You just get pressed on it, right? You're going to
Y'all are
make the
doing
claim. You made
great
the claim
on server.
specifically.
Just to
Made the
let y'all
dumb
know.
fucking claim that I made an assertion which goes
Y'all are doing
against the
great.
position that scientific evidence cannot support philosophical claims. I'm asking you, what claim have I made in my previous response or in any part of this conversation which goes against the position that scientific evidence can support philosophical positions? What claim have I made? Tell me. Don't ramble and don't do a Jamaican accent freaking mockery. Just give the fucking evidence, you dumb idiot. What's the claim I made?
Yoo-hoo, can I actually continue
I
with my
want you to give the claim
elaboration
I
from
made.
asking you that question now? You just asked me a question that you don't even know if it has anything to do with why I asked you the question in the first place. Now I'm going to elaborate because I'm glad you said yes to that obvious question that scientific evidence can support philosophical positions. So your argument that somehow me using scientific claims or evidence wouldn't be leeway to that conclusion was just retarded. Anyways, the scientific
What did I
evidence
make
that
it?
I put forth that you keep ignoring was the process of things such as myelination.
Who muted him? He was active.
Dog, you're not gonna just run away and just lie about what the fuck the person just said, right? No one has made the claim that scientific evidence cannot support philosophical positions. I said that there not being scientific evidence for a claim which I'm claiming to be a miracle or an event I'm claiming to be a miracle would not be evidence against the claim. Now, nothing of that is insinuating in any way whatsoever that you cannot use scientific evidence to support philosophical positions. What are you talking about, dude? You just lying out of your fucking anus to fucking support your dumb fucking position because you have no evidence, dog. Don't run away, dude. Just again, quote me. Give me the sentence I've said, which indicates that I believe that scientific evidence cannot support philosophical positions.
Unfortunately,
Don't run
I
away, dude.
can't give a decisive judgment because I went to McDonald's like 15 minutes in.
This guy just like runs away from claims and shit, which is why I have to like mute this motherfucker. Like, holy shit, he's like the most
Oh wait,
dishonest scumbag that there is
oh
to
my
be.
god, bro, you're supposed to moderate. What are y'all doing?
I want Clorox to
That
give the
nigga
evidence,
muted me
dude.
because
I
he was
want him to
getting
just give me the
pressed.
quotation
That
of me
nigga
saying that
muted me
scientific
because he a
evidence cannot support
pedophile.
philosophical
That nigga
positions.
muted because he a
That's what I want right
pedophile.
now, dude. Oh, but my name is Clorox, and I just make claims.
Anyways, let me continue with answering to answering his question. So before he mutes me again because I'm about to rape him on his question again, like he believes rape is moral. So this is what I'm going to do to him rhetorically. Again, when I ask you the question, wait a minute that Apollo them, because you use this as an excuse. Wait a minute.
When did I ever say that rape is moral? When did I ever say this? When the fuck did I ever say this? I've explicitly stated on the recording that rape is immoral. What are you talking about? It's just so hilarious to me that you talk about tracking the ability when at the beginning of this conversation I literally said, of course, you both agree that rape is moral. So what the fuck are you talking about, dude? What sort of statements have I made in this conversation which is emblematic of me believing rape to be moral? Now you're just trying to lie to the fucking audience to just make it seem to be the case that there's a moralistic high ground. We really don't. You don't have any sort of argumentative high ground either, which is why you're running away to this optical game where you don't actually give an evidence and rather make lies about what the person actually believes in. Because funnily enough, on the same very recording of this debate we're having, which you're getting urinated on, right? I've explicitly made it clear that I don't believe rape to be moral. So what are you talking about? Why are you lying about what my belief system to basically dodge and run away from your burden? You still have the burden to demonstrate.
No more running away by server muting me. Apollo, you're gonna let me answer the question. Apollo, you're gonna let me answer objections. Apollo, why are you running away from me? Why are you running away from the points I give?
Go ahead, Clorox. Go ahead. Now it's your turn.
Okay. So okay. I hope everybody watching like the rec can rewind back to the justification I gave for child sex obviously being rape earlier and Apollo not addressing that, but again just questioning the connectives, which he can do. It's fair, but understand that that doesn't mean that I haven't said anything in pertaining to justifying them, like logical proofs or justification, and the scientific evidence I gave. Like this is the reason why I answered the question. He was using this as a route to avoid my actual justification for why it was rape in the first place to fuck 9-year-olds. So I'm not going to let up on him when I say he's a fucking pedophile. The reason why I say he's a fucking pedophile isn't because you date a 17-year-old with your virgin ass. Not that you're a fucking like super duper senior. That's not why I'm saying you're a pedophile. I didn't have no fucking clue about that. I'm just talking about how the fact that you can say that it's like morally permissible for a 55-year-old to fuck a little 9-year-old kid. I just think that that's enough grounds to already say you're a pedophile. And when I justified that by saying that it is pedophilia, not pedophilia, but rape essentially, because they can't consent for XYZ reasons, yes, it was a philosophical position, not a legal one. So I didn't know why you were talking about that. I was talking about a specific modality in which the conception of the human brain is determined by its mental development. And children, we know, do not have these specific things that in science justify this philosophical conclusion. I wonder why I answered the question now, Apollo. I wonder why. So now that we've all gathered around, now we're all caught up to speed and we're tracking now, I can finally make the goddamn argument so clear to you.
Oh, now
since this necessitates that Aisha, regardless of how mentally mature you want to say, quote unquote, she was, there were things that actually determined whether she could consent or not. So biology was one of them. And neuroplasticity was a